Hello, dear friends. Long time no chat. As we're entering the festive season, in the spirit of giving back, I thought it'd be fun to talk about some gift ideas from some of my favorite small businesses. And it could be an opportunity for you guys to learn about some small brands that you might not have come across. It's usually a time of the year when we're usually marketed to lean towards overconsumption, and I was hoping that maybe some of these ideas might offer more mindful, intentional, and sustainable approaches to gift giving. I wanted to focus only on small brands in this video because it's important to support your local small businesses during this time of the year as well as all year round. A lot of the times, small brands can be run by just a few people, even down to just an individual whose whole livelihood depends on their craft in order to support their families. In other cases, some small brands might be working directly with local farmers or local producers, and so in purchasing from small businesses, you're contributing to helping support these local communities. On top of that, some of the brands that I will be mentioning in this video I know have had their work stolen or copied from larger corporations who reproduce their work in cheaper, less durable, less ethical ways. And so by choosing small, you're choosing to support their creativity, their dedication, and the human touch and care that they put into their craft. All this to say, it's just an excuse for me to talk about some of my favorite brands with you guys. If you also have some favorite small makers, small brands, small businesses that you want to share, please do in the comments section. If you are a maker yourself as well, leave your info, work in the description below. I'd love to follow you guys and see what you guys are making. And yeah, I have a long list, so I think we should get started. Grab a cup of tea and make yourself comfortable because I think this is going to be a long one. I'm going to have everything linked in the description bar below so you can easily find all these brands. And yeah, let's get started. So the first section we're going to talk about are ceramics, because what better to receive as a gift than a beautiful handmade piece of ceramic. The first two brands that I'm going to talk about, I have pieces here with me. And then after that, I'm going to categorize them by region, so it might be easier for you guys to find makers local to your area. The first piece is made by my friend Lauren, who also has a YouTube channel here called From Tree to Sea. And she custom made this mug for me. I love this mug. It lives with me in the studio. She said she was inspired by the colors from my Instagram feed for this piece, and I love the raw clay texture that she left on the outside, glazed on the inside, and her illustration work is absolutely stunning. I love these flowers, so definitely give her a follow and go follow her on YouTube if you don't. But yeah, you get to see her make these pieces there. So thank you so much, Lauren. I love this mug. Next up, one of my favorite ceramicists. I wish I could collect all of her pieces. Her name is Kim Le. I believe that's how you pronounce her name. She is based in Paris. And this is my favorite mug that I drink from every morning. I actually still have some matcha in there that I was just drinking this morning. Her craft, her level of skill is unpaired. Is that how you say it? It's next level. Her pieces are so well made, from the weight of it, the way she pulls her handles, the glazes that she makes. This piece has little marks from her fingers here that she purposefully left. It's when she puts her fingers in order to, I'm not going to tip it over because I still have some matcha tea in there, but it's when she glazes the piece. Yeah, it just gives this like hand-touched feel. I love this glaze that she developed from crushed rocks that she's collected. I believe it was in a forest not far from Paris. The bottom of the piece is just as beautiful. She barely even needed to trim the piece. This is the mark of beautiful craftsmanship. Anyway, I'm a huge fan of her work. I have some of her mugs. I have some of her bowls. I love to eat from them. She just did a shop update, but I believe she sold out really quickly. And I believe she's going on maternity leave right now, but I would definitely go and follow her and try to grab a piece from her on her next shop update. So yeah, Kimule, based in Paris. All right, moving on, we are now going to move on geographically, and I'm going to start with, I have my computer here with me. I'm going to start with Spain because this is where I'm located currently. And we're going to start with Estudio Vernis. I don't have a piece from them, but they are having a shop update Sunday, the 8th of December, which is the day that I'm filming. I hope I can get this video up the same day. If you're looking for pieces that have that handmade touched feel, that have that very honest material type of style, I would definitely check out Estudio Vernis. They're based out of Alicante, which is just south of Valencia. They hand built all of their pieces, and they've built their own wood-fired oven in their backyard. And they fire all of their pieces from wood, basically, that they find in their area. Their glazes are absolutely stunning. I really like this one in particular. I'm kind of thinking of grabbing this mug for myself. I also really liked the pieces where you have that hand-pinched, finger-pinched style. Their photography work is also stunning, and a lot of the food in their plates just look so appetizing. I believe their pieces are carried by a store in Los Angeles as well, and in Copenhagen. What I really like about their work is the honest materialness and closeness to nature that you see in their pieces and in their overall. In my opinion, they found the perfect balance in a very raw ceramic style that still looks really sophisticated and elegant. Next up, we're moving on to Canoa Lab. Raquel and Pedro are actually here in Valencia, in the same city that I live in, and I've been a huge fan of their work for years, and I happened to get to meet them about a year ago, and they're just the kindest, sweetest people, and their work are stunning pieces of art. If you're looking for more sculptural pieces that have this very Iberian, antique Roman, even Greek inspired look, I would definitely recommend you guys check them out. They do stunning work with glazes. They also use metal work in some of their pieces. They're just superbly elegant. I've seen them as well in their studio, and I wanted everything. I think with this level of skill and craftsmanship, they only deserve the biggest amount of support for this type of craft to live on. It's so rare to find pieces that are so well made, yet experimental, that take designs that have lived throughout history for years, and they're able to give it a very modern take. I think it's really rare, and they're true artists, so highly recommend you guys check them out. Next up, my friends from Tierra de Arcillas. Milena and Julia are a duo who are in the south of Spain in the Almeria region, close to the Alpujarra Mountains. So they do a whole different type of ceramic style where they go and forage their wild clay in their region, which takes a ton of work to not only experiment with, to discover, as well as to work with, and they're able to develop beautiful clay bodies that they make themselves. What I love about their brand, not only do I love these people, they're just the sweetest, loveliest people, they also work very, very close to nature and work on bringing back, working with wild clay basically, because in ceramics today, essentially you can just easily buy your clay from any shop, and a lot of these clay producers build their own clay bodies by using minerals from many different places. They're not always tied to their local geographical region. So you might have porcelain that might be manufactured in regions where you do not find kaolin and porcelain. So there is something working with the local region, the local terrain and soil and clay that is so interesting in the work that they do. On top of that, I got to meet them and hang out with them for a couple of days because they do teaching. They teach you how to work with wild clay, how to forage your own, and how to work with it. I highly, highly recommend you go to these classes and retreats. So they work with Las Mecias, which is also run by two girls right next to their studio who have this beautiful land that they've kind of turned into an artist retreat place. You're staying with Las Mecias, who will cater. So they grow their own food on this land and they cook the most amazing dishes. It's such a beautiful area. So if you're looking for a bit of escape from the city into nature and want to learn about wild clay and eat some delicious food, I highly, highly recommend you check out their classes. Next up, Nuria Figueredo. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this correctly. I've only recently discovered her work. She has this very unique, whimsical, storytelling-like element to her work, yet that's very sculptural, because a lot of times you can find this kind of style, but it's very illustrative. And she does these adorable, beautiful sculptural works. Every piece seems like it has its own story, its own soul. I find it so characterful, yet mystical, yet almost a little spooky sometimes, but very magical. I'd love to collect one of her pieces one day, and I think these would look really beautiful in any home. They'd give a lot of character, I think, to any space. We are now going to expand throughout Europe, and we're going to start with a Scandinavian ceramicist. I think she's based in Stockholm in Sweden, and she's actually had some of her pieces. I don't know if you know the show The Bear on Disney. She's had some of her work featured in the show, which is awesome. What a ceramicist's dream. She's one of the rare ceramicists that I see work with red clay. Her work is very earthy, it's very sculptural. She has this very Scandi style that she mixes in with Asian influence. I think her pieces are very unique, they're really interesting, and I think they would make a great gift. Staying in the Northern European region, moving on to Tosebo. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but they are located in Copenhagen. I can't wait to visit Copenhagen. There are so many beautiful designers actually in that area, in that city. But Tosebo makes very Japanese wabi-sabi influenced work. It's very, very elegant, beautifully made, one of a kind. Heading to France now, we have Samantha Kerdin, I think that's how you say it. Recently discovered her work as well. Very painterly, illustrative, artsy, but very, very well made. There's a lot of pieces that I'm really obsessed with, especially this sort of stool table collection that she made. I love the way that she paints illustrations and faces and portraits on ceramics. I think that is so... This style of work looks easy to make, but it's actually really, really hard to perfect. She has so many good ideas. Her use of color is beautiful. And it's very playful as well. I'm really inspired by her work. Next up, we're moving on to Canada. Some of you might know that I used to live in Toronto. I've lived there for 10 years. Yeah, so I do follow a couple ceramicists in the area. One of them is Carly Wado. We actually used to share a community studio together when I first started doing ceramics. I was always in admiration of her work. She started making these very sculptural, small vases. I love the type of clay that she works with. She started selling some of her pieces in mjolk. I'm not exactly sure how to say that, but some of you in Toronto might know of this shop. I would highly recommend you check out her work. In Montreal, there is Anya, I can't pronounce this last name, Anya Jemrozik. I don't know how to pronounce their name, but they work with white clay bodies and use a lot of blue in a painterly style. And some of these little bowl or sculptural wall pieces are really, really fun and painterly and very unique. I think it's really fun, it's really whimsical, I don't know, it just brings a smile on my face when I look at their work. Also in Montreal, I've recently discovered this account. I think it's run by two people, Léa and Nicolas. They use a red clay body and they make very sculptural mugs and bowls that almost has this sort of sculpture but cardboard look to it. It's really, really interesting. It's really unique, really well executed. In the UK, we have a couple ceramicists. Actually, there's a lot of ceramicists in the UK. The first one I want to talk about is Charlotte Salt. I'm really obsessed with her plates that she paints. These faces are just so beautifully painted, and I like the illustrative work that she does on tiles as well. They're just full of story, very whimsical again, and really inspiring. There's almost an antique aspect to the work that she makes, but it's beautifully executed. Ginny Sims Ceramics. I want every single piece that she makes, and that is rare, especially in this type of style. I don't usually gravitate towards wanting to buy pieces like this, but something about the pieces that she makes I'm just so drawn to. They're so unique. I think no piece looks alike. She's just able to pair colors that I would never think of putting together, and just executes it so well. Her mugs just make you want to drink a cup of coffee or tea from and hold it in your hand. I'm really in admiration of how unique every piece looks and how well she's able to pull off this style. It's almost giving a Bodhi style to her work. It has this very slapped on paint, artisticness to it, but yet it's so polished and so well made. Celia Wood, based in Edinburgh in Scotland, recently discovered her Instagram, and kind of similar to Ginny Sims, I just love her work. It's so unique, so well made. It has kind of this folkloric aspect to it. It's really fun. I love these little fish candle holders, fish that she paints on these vases. It's really, really fun. The characters always kind of have this funny, comical aspect to them. It has this childlike wonder that you kind of lose as you're growing older. Kath Potts, she has really, really interesting glaze work. So she makes mugs, plates, jars, etc., teapots as well. And the way that she uses her glazes is so unique. I've rarely seen this before. I'm not even really sure how she executes it. I bet you it'd be really, really nice to have this on a dining table or in a kitchen. I don't have a lot of ceramicists to recommend based in the United States this time around, but I did want to talk about Mellow New York or Mellow NYC on Instagram. I really like this, I don't know how you would describe this work. It's very black and white, but the shapes that they create are stunning. I really like these incense holders that they make. I find incense holders really hard to find and shop for because I'm just never really drawn to what people make, but I think this one has a lot of character. I really like these swirly mugs as well. In a similar style, but in Australia, I believe it's in South Australia, is Millie from Cheeky Ceramics. I really like what she makes, mugs like this or like this. She also does illustrative work like this that are kind of funny and very unique. Okay, moving away from ceramics, I wanted to talk about Madeline Illustration. She is an illustrator. She also works with textiles, embroidery. Lately, she's been working with copper pieces. I'm not really sure what that's called. I think she does beautiful work on textiles, embroidery. I love this greyhound that she did. I like the flower shapes that she's done. Next up, we have a woodworker. I don't know how to pronounce her name, but her first name is Elise. I think she's based out of Vancouver. I don't follow a lot of woodworkers who sell this type of I guess, functional wear, but her bowls, her cake stands are just beautiful. I think she makes salt and pepper mills. Her work is just really elegant. It's sculptural. And similar to ceramics, there's something really beautiful when you're working with an honest material such as wood. If you do know of other artists and makers who make this type of woodwork, please share them with me. I'd love to discover more. Next up in LA, we have MJ Kaylee. She does really, really interesting work with beads and ceramics. I've never seen this before. She makes these beautiful landscapes that she weaves through beads and then frames it with some ceramic frames that she makes herself. She also makes jewelry like this. I've had my eye on her work for a while, and I really want to collect a piece from her. Candles. It is a great season to be gifting candles. My friend Clara, based in close to Barcelona in Spain, runs a shop called Shop Copito, and she makes these natural beeswax candles that she colors with natural pigments. So it's either pigments that she goes and collects herself or that she grows herself, so such as indigo. I do actually have one of her pieces here with me, this beautiful candle. I love this shade. It's got this like mustardy coloring to it, and her work is very sculptural. I have some of her other candles. I actually went and got some other pieces that I have of hers in my kitchen. I really like this red, especially close to this blue. I believe this blue is achieved with indigo. I'm not sure about this one. It could be madder, I guess. But something about the natural materials that she works with gives this beautiful sheen and translucency to the wax. She also makes these natural crayons, which have been copied by a big corporation, Zara Home, that have made a cheaper, uglier alternative. But yeah, I would definitely check out her work. In the same vein as candles, I tend to burn incense actually more often than candles. I don't know if it's because I lived in Asia most of my childhood and it's a lot more common there. I think the only issue that I have with incense is that a lot of times they use artificial chemical smells in them, and those tend to really give me a headache. I have a really hard time standing those smells. Like, I have to leave the room. So I'm really particular about these smells. And I tested this brand that is run by Moya, or I don't know if you know Moya Mawini here on YouTube, you probably do. But her and her partner have started a brand called A Series Of, and they've launched, well, their first product is an incense. I believe they're gonna come out with more smells. I was a little skeptical at first because, like I said, I'm very particular about scents in general. I'm very sensitive, but they did a really good job. As soon as I opened the box, oh, the smell is really nice. So what got me curious about their brand is the incense is made in Japan by one of the oldest incense making houses. I don't mean to spoil the unboxing experience, but this would make a wonderful gift. The packaging that they use is really nice. You open up and then you have a little flap that has a little description, another one here, and a little descriptor here, and the incense that matches the box color. So these are made without a wooden stick, which is the traditional Japanese way, and they have such a delightful smell to them. It reminds me of when I used to live in Asia, and I really enjoy burning one once a day, which is kind of what they're suggesting that you do. It comes with 30 incense sticks in a box, and so you burn one every day for the month. And yeah, I think this would make a really beautiful gift. Speaking of incense, I don't have them with me because I just moved into a new apartment and everything's a bit in boxes, but there's another incense brand that I've batch bought their incense. They're all handmade by a girl in British Columbia, and it's only using natural gums and materials basically. And she has these different smells. There's a meditation one, there's a temple blend, and I really like all of them. I highly recommend you check them out. I'll insert images of what they look like here. They don't give me a headache, and I really believe it's because of the natural materials that are used in these incense sticks. I've had lots of friends ask me where I get my incense from, and yeah, highly recommend you check her out. Also, on the topic of incense, I haven't tried this, but I was scrolling on the internet and I found this incense making kit, which I had never heard of. It's made by Poj Studio. Basically, it's a kit that allows you to make your own incense, and it comes with 3 different fragrances. I wouldn't know if these are overpowering of a smell, but it could be a fun little DIY gift kit. I have two jewelry brands that I would love to share with you guys. In Barcelona, there is this brand called Après-Ski or Après-Ski that is run, I believe, by one girl, and she makes jewelry, clothing, a bunch of things. And I did purchase these cute little earrings from her that I wore at a wedding, actually. I mean, I didn't buy them for the wedding, but I did wear at a wedding that I had to go to this year, and they just really made my outfit. She also makes pieces like this. She makes necklaces. They have a very cosmopolitan design. I think she draws inspiration from many cultures around the world, Latin American, Asian, North African, etc. And she also hand makes these jackets and tops from scrap material. They're all absolutely stunning. Speaking of incense, she just did a collaboration with Thelma Paris. Thelma, I guess, sells incense, and she made an incense holder that's kind of shaped like a snake, and it's really cute. So I feel like that could be a really good gift. Also on the topic of jewelry, my friend Wing in New York runs a brand called Wake. I've met her a couple times when she visited Toronto years ago. She works a lot with opal. She has a very celestial style in her designs. She makes beautiful, beautiful pieces, but more importantly, the opal and gemstones that she works with, she sources them and mines them ethically, or works with ethically mined stones, which is really important because in the jewelry industry, when it comes to gold and gemstones, a lot of mining is done in very unethical manners. In my case, the little piece of jewelry that I have, the opals here are actually cut from discarded parts of opal. So opals have a very bluish, greenish tone to them, but when you cut the stone, you only select the parts of the stone that have the most intense color, and the rest of the material gets discarded. And so for this piece, she used the discarded material. It still has some bluish greenish tones to it, but it's a lot more pale, and it hangs really, really beautifully. I basically never take it off. I sleep with it, I swim with it. It's definitely more the higher end, but if you're looking to invest into pieces of jewelry, I really recommend you check out the pieces that she makes. And I believe that she also makes custom designs for engagement rings. So if you are in the market for that, definitely take a look. If I could, I would buy every single piece that she makes, especially those gold banded necklaces. I think she was one of the first ones to come up with this design that was then copied by a lot of other brands. But I've seen those necklaces of hers in person. It really looks like you're wearing liquid gold. And I remember at one of the Toronto pop-ups that she did, there was a woman with darker skin tone that was wearing some of them draped on her collarbone and neck, and it looked so beautiful. She looked like a Cleopatra walking queen. Like I said, if you're in the market for investment pieces, I would really check out her designs. Knitwear. Knitwear is really hard to shop for. I find that you either have to thrift them, like this little cashmere thing that I thrifted for like 15 euros at a market. It actually has a hole that I have to fix, that I have to patch up in the elbow. Where is it? Oh, there we go. So you either have to like dig and find nice knits, or you have to settle for fast fashion knits that just don't last a very long time. But there is a Spanish brand that you might have heard of called Baba. I have invested in two of their pieces a few years ago, and ever since I've got them, I cannot wear any other knit. Once you've felt the quality and the craftsmanship of their knits, you just don't want any other knit. The raw wool knits in particular do start off a little rough, but they do soften with wear, and I will attest that I've had mine for at least 3 years, and they have softened a lot. They do pill though. If you're not really into the pill look, maybe look elsewhere, but their knits are the most comfortable, beautiful, and sustainably made knits that you can find out there. They are investment pieces, however, they do annual sales. I wanted to include Baba because I feel like it's the perfect example for why shopping small and supporting small is so important. So Baba is a perfect example because it's a family-run business. They're based out of Madrid or Barcelona. So supporting Baba not only means you're supporting this family, they have multiple children, etc., but they also work with family-run factories. So without the existence of Baba, these family-run factories would also collapse. Then they also work with local shepherds in the region who practice transhuman. It's a traditional way of working with sheep in a very natural and ethical way. So supporting Baba means you're not just supporting this local maker, but you're supporting a whole community ecosystem of different families whose livelihood depends on this craft and these beautifully made pieces. Not only that, but Baba commits to dyeing their wool in the most sustainable way possible. And she does talk about, well, the founder talks about how the processes that they use in the podcast that I'll link as well. In a world where fashion is the second biggest polluter in the world, I think it's so important to keep supporting small businesses like this that push the fashion industry into a whole other direction and puts pressure on the other larger conglomerates to do better, to borrow, better practices in human, environmental, ethical way. This video is getting a little long, so I'm gonna go a little faster on these last few recommendations. I wanted to include some shops that do carry a lot of works from other small makers. One of them in Denmark, I believe in Copenhagen, is called Rasted, which carry a Studio Vernis pieces. They carry a lot of beautiful curated pieces. If you're shopping more for Japanese-inspired kitchenware products, there's Tenzo. I believe they're based in Los Angeles, and they carry a lot of imported goods from Japan that are beautifully made, but they also work with a lot of ceramicists in the area, and they curate some of their collections, and if you could get your hands on some of them, I think they would make really good gifts. In the Toronto area, I have 3 shops that carry a lot of cool stuff. One of my roommates in Toronto, one of her best friends, works at 100% Silk shop. And I actually have shopped there before. I've bought a pair of Mary Janes that are made in silk by this maker in Taipei or in Taiwan. And yeah, they carry a lot of small handmade brands that are made very delicately and beautifully, and very interesting stuff that they carry. There's also Ba Bazaar. They carry a lot of homeware, a lot of kitchen and like tableware. They curate really beautiful decorative pieces, and a lot of them would make for really good gifts. If you're in the market for something that is a little more fancy, elegant, but still for the home, there's Souvenir Studios in Toronto. They curate a lot of ceramics, vases, fragrances, just a lot of beautiful pieces, glassware as well. Another great gift idea I find is to gift small paintings if you can find some, either on Etsy, or there is this website called Drouot. I think it's French, I'm not sure. But there's a lot of collection items there. There's some very expensive pieces of art and arts of all sorts. But you can also find really beautiful paintings at as cheap as €100 that are beautifully painted. You do have to do a bit of digging. I've recently heard about it. It was recommended to me by my dad, and he's found some really nice paintings for really cheap there. A magazine subscription, I think, would make a really good gift. You can cater to your receiver's tastes. So for example, I have recently subscribed to Milk Decoration magazine. If you're really into design, interiors, artists, artisans, etc., it's a really, really nice magazine. I mean, you can also look up the articles that they have on their website. You get to discover a lot of artists and artisans and see what's happening in the world of design and interiors, and they have a really nice curation of stuff. There's also Manera magazine, which is Spanish, and also if you're interested in interiors and design, I would recommend checking out that magazine. The very last thing I want to talk about is thrifting. I think thrifting is one of the most sustainable ways of shopping. These items are already put out there in the world. You're not wasting any new resources. One example is thrifting little lights. You can find lots of them in secondhand stores. You can find them in Etsy. This is one that I thrifted very recently for my apartment. It's a little atomic lamp from the 1930s or 1920s, and it still works perfectly. It's not plugged in right now, but this little click thing is so satisfying to use, and it just looks beautiful. I love the patina that it has. I love that it's gotten darker in some areas with wear, and it still functions after almost 100 years of existing, it's so impressive, and they're just beautifully designed. And if you dig well enough, you will be able to find some cheaper finds. I'm going to share some ideas of lamps that I have been looking up on Etsy. Some of them I am still eyeing, so I might have to grab them before you guys do. I'm also going to link some Etsy shops that curate a lot of really cute thrifted things. The ones that I've been looking at are based out of Europe, but I'm going to link them nonetheless and include some images of some of the random things that you can find on Etsy, but that would make really cute gifts. And I shall take this opportunity to thank you guys for sticking around to the end of this video. I put a lot of time and effort in curating this gift guide list, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, let me know in the comments, or just simply leave a like so I know that you like these kinds of videos. And yeah, obviously you don't need to buy from any of these small businesses that I've mentioned, but I hope that they might have sparked some ideas as to what you could maybe gift that is made from small makers, or that you can thrift out there for the special people in your life. With all this said, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Hope you enjoy this holiday, festive season, and enjoy the mindful shopping. See you soon. Bye. He wants to be in the shot. Yeah, you want to join in the small business gift guide?
Let's do a quick check.
1, 2, 1, 2, check, check.